The war in Syria comes to Damascus. Opposition fighters attack the Syrian capital, seizing control of areas under government siege. How serious a blow is this to the Syrian president? And could we see more attacks like this from the rebels? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Hazem Sika. For most of the last 6 years of the war in Syria, the capital has been shielded from the destruction and desperation in much of the country. No longer, it seems, rebels and fighters have launched a surprise attack on government forces, making, they say, significant gains in the eastern part of the city. The advance on Sunday was launched from the Jobar neighbourhood, linking it to Qaboun and other areas in the north which have been under government siege. Government troops responded with shelling and sniper fire. The fighting came very close to the Old City of Damascus. Well, the fighting in the capital raises lots of questions about the war elsewhere in Syria. The rebels, with help from the US and other Western countries, seem to be winning back in 2015. In September of 2015, Russian airstrikes turned the tide and strengthened the government's hold. Rebel fighters were pushed from several strongholds. The biggest blow was in December when the government conquered the entire city of Aleppo. Territorial changes are often reflected at talks to end the war. So will the fighting in the capital now shift power at the negotiation table? We'll talk to our guests in a moment, but first let's talk to Issam, Reis, the spokesperson for the Free Syrian Army Southern Front. He joins us now via Skype. Thank you for being with us. I want to ask you first of all about what exactly the FSA's involvement was in this attack, because we've been getting conflicting reports, some saying that most of it was being directed by Jabhat Fatah Hisham and other groups. Other reports don't mention the Free Syrian Army in this at all.
Well, first of all, this operation, the head of the operations room was Faylaq al-Rahman, which is a Free Syrian Army brigade. They have the higher number of the fighters. For Hayat Jabhat Fatah Hisham or Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, they are 10% of the fighters. There's no coordination. They get involved in the fight. They took the chance and get involved in the fight without, we can't stop them. So they fought on their front lines. And they are just, as I'm saying, they are just less than 10% of the total number of the fighters who launched the operation. This operation was led by Free Syrian Army Brigade, which is Faylaq al-Rahman, and they have the strongest existence there in Jobar and Qaboun. But it's a significant advance because it was a shock for the regime. We saw what we saw yesterday. We've never saw that since 5 years, since the crisis cell attack. Yesterday, the regime disconnected all the communications and cut the internet. The Republican Guards was deployed in Damascus streets. There is some experts and Russian commanders left to Latakia, to Tahmimim air base, Russian air base. It's a clear message that they are worried from the fight to reach the capital. And it's a message for the international community and the world that a military solution and the victory which Assad is claiming is nonsense. There is no way for Assad to control all the country again, as he's claiming, because his army is weak. Without the Russians in the sky, without the militias, the Shia jihadist militias fighting on the behalf of Iran and Assad on the ground, Assad can't stop the attack, even in his motherland or in his headquarters and heart of the regime.
You said earlier this is a significant advance, this attack, but where do things stand right now territorially? Because the government has said that since then they have responded with counterattacks, and they have pushed opposition forces back from many of those areas, and specifically they say that the highway linking Jobar and El Qaboun is now fully under their control. What's your response to that?
First of all, I'm not surprised. The regime media yesterday said there's nothing happening in Damascus. So I'm not surprised if they are saying they made a counterattack. Actually, we left some tactical, we did some tactical movements without pressure. This is confirmed without pressure because this is an uncovered area. The highway wasn't under
What do you mean by
control
tactical
fully.
movements? You mean your forces retreated?
No, we still have strategic points, have an access to the highway. The highway never was under our territory. I mean, there's no fighters on the highway. To understand the situation, now we are in points which can cover all the highway. The highway, we can cut the highway by fire. This is an uncovered area, so we can't stand there and keep our fighters there. But we were able to connect the two neighborhoods of Qaboun and Jobar for a long time, all the daytime, and exchange fighters and resources. We gained a lot, lots of losses. The regime have over 75 soldiers killed, 3 of them very high-level commanders. We don't have this kind of casualties, much less. And as I told you, without pressure, we changed our movements. The operation didn't stop. It's continuing, but it's continuing on our timing. The regime is still in their chaos situation until now. We can tell from the movements they are trying to do. They couldn't believe what happened yesterday. Even its allies like Iranian militias now refilling the presence of the Russians who left to Latakia. So there's a chaos inside the capital. And also, I think there's a clear political message. This is very important for Russia and Iran to understand that a military solution is impossible in Syria. And Assad is claiming a victory just because he believes they are standing with him. But as soon as the Russian warplanes will leave the sky in Syria, I think all the things is able to change, and that's what we saw yesterday.
All right, appreciate you talking to us, Issam Reis, spokesman for the Free Syrian Army. Thanks very much for being with us on Inside Story. All right, let's bring in our other 2 guests now, both of them from London. We have Mamoun Abu Nawar, who is a retired Jordanian Air Force general and military analyst. Also in London, Dr. Lina Khatib, head of the Middle East and North Africa program at Chatham House. Welcome both of you to Inside Story. General Mamoun Abu Nawar, let me start with you. What do you make of this attack and the Free Syrian Army's involvement in it?
Well, it is a very significant attack. I think the attack planned very well, and they achieved the immediate objective of it by breaking the siege between Qaboun and Jobar. And they made the link, in actual fact, and they released the pressure from eastern Ghouta. They could control the eastern gate of Damascus also. And they will break the siege also of the Shia belt, which is being formulated by the Iranian. So they got some objective, they succeed on it. But we got 4 rebel group involved in this attack. It's the Ahrar al-Sham, Faylaq al-Rahman, which is the main attacking force. And you got Jaish al-Islam, he's not participating very much, with the attack. And Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, al-Nusra. So FSA is not really involved in it, except there's some part of it in the northern part of the eastern Ghouta. So you have all these forces, but they did achieve something on it, and they were probably 3 to 4 kilometers away from Assad. So they created the panic, they attacked the center of gravity of the Assad capital, and so it does have a significant meaning for the rebels and raising their morale. Would it be a game changer, or would it be change the trajectory of war? That's remained to be seen, and I don't think they have the potential and the capacity to do that. So I think we might see some minor or possible chemical attack from the Assad regime, especially in Jobar area, if they kept on that part. But also we would see, I think the Russian Air Force and the Syrian Air Force, they will pound the rebel in Ghouta again, and just to change the tide of this attack or this clashes. So that's but it's remained to be seen, and I think the forces will stay as is or on these front lines.
Dr. Khatib, how significant do you believe this attack is, in particular the fact that it was so close to the center of Damascus and the seat of power of Assad's government?
It's a very significant attack. Damascus has not seen an attack of this scale for a very long time. Most of the actions of Hayat Tahrir Sham, Ahrar al-Sham and their allies have been in northern Syria, not in Damascus. Although we heard earlier from the spokesperson of the Southern Front that they seem to want to take some credit for participating in this attack, the fact is, in the recent months, the Southern Front, which is the FSA, Free Syrian Army Coalition operating in the south, has been largely inactive. And there are several reasons for this inactivity. It's not because they don't want to be active, it's because their foreign supporters have forced them not to be active. US funding to the Southern Front has been cut. Jordan and Saudi Arabia, with Russian and American blessing, have also caused the Southern Front to significantly reduce its military activities in that area. In fact, 2 years ago, the Southern Front had the capacity to advance towards Damascus, but their foreign backers prevented them basically from doing so. And so today, this attack is a reminder of what happens when the Free Syrian Army does not get the support that could have enabled it to be a game changer in the conflict in Syria. And now there are new actors on the ground, led by Jabhat Fath al-Sham, who are participating in this kind of significant attack on Damascus.
You talked about their foreign backers there. Who are they, do you believe?
Well, the Southern Front has been backed by Jordan, the United States primarily. Saudi Arabia plays, a minor role, but mostly when it comes to the Southern Front, it has to answer to the United States that had set up a military command center in Jordan, and also mainly the wishes of the Jordanian government. The reason why Jordan as a state did not want the Southern Front to continue to be active has to do with Jordanian domestic security, because Jordan did not want military activity on its border with Syria. It preferred that front to be a bit quiet, and there was an indirect behind-the-scenes agreement between Jordan and Russia to that effect, with the blessing of the US, and we saw stages of funding cuts to the Free Syrian Army by the United States, the latest of which happened in January. And after the January funding cut, the military command centers became more or less inactive. But there are groups on the ground that belong to the Southern Front that recently started getting more active, in a way in defiance of their foreign backers, because of the frustration of the situation that I've just described.
General Abu Nawar, have the rebels found a weak point in the regime's defenses with this attack? I mean, is it possible that maybe the government wasn't taking them seriously there?
No, they were being bounded by the Air Force, Russian Air Force and the Syrian Air Force, but they used the tunnel cleverly and the suicide attack and car bombs. So they achieved the shock or the tactical surprise on that matter. And as I said before, this attack planned very well. I think they've been planning this for a long time to do such an attack. But regarding the Southern Front concerning Jordan, it's been active, let's say, 3 weeks back when in Manshia area and Daraa. And that shows that the rebel, they took their decision to do that regardless of Jordan position or the Russian position. But things cooled down later on. But still, I don't think the rebel will give up that much. And I think they will fight to death. That's the nature of the war in Syria now, seems to be. And it's going to be a guerrilla warfare, insurgencies, and underground movement. So this is the way I see it in the future. I mean, the fighting we're seeing right now will show clearly that Astana is not working, and also the Geneva, it's coming Geneva on 23rd of March, I don't think will be any significant breakthrough on it, because the differences between the two opposition and the Assad regime is very wide indeed, and the future of Assad got to be decided, or the transitional, political transitional, and the Assad want this unity government, rewriting the constitution again to be elected again, things like that. So I don't think we're going to see any breakthrough. Even they refused to receive de Mistura, regarding the Geneva 23rd of March. But Damascus fight is critical. It is the main battle, but they need the capacity, the resources, if you want to do any major change. There are a lot of divisions, Republican Guard, the fourth divisions also. So Damascus is well defended in a way by the Assad regime, and to make a breakthrough to reach Assad, it won't be easy.
Lina, Khatib, how do you see this affecting the next round of talks then? Do you see any major changes in terms of negotiating positions and so on in light of what's happened on the battlefield?
I think it's too early to be optimistic about talks in general. If anything, we have to remember that the groups that have participated in this attack have many amongst their ranks that are not participating in any talks, neither in Astana nor in Geneva. And therefore, in some ways, the attack will not necessarily have a causal effect on the talks. However, it might be indirectly used by the regime and Russia to say to the Syrian opposition that it has not basically kept its side of the agreement when it comes to the ceasefire on the ground that was brokered in December holding. Ultimately, even the ceasefire agreements in Syria have always been basically in the eyes of the beholder. As long as the Syrian opposition and the Syrian government say that the ceasefire is holding, it kind of doesn't matter whether the reality on the ground is in fact reflective of this position or not. What I'm saying is sometimes they say a ceasefire is holding because they are keen to have negotiations, but the situation on the ground is one of continuous fighting. And this is in fact what we've seen since December. So as I said, it all depends on whether the regime and Russia choose to use this incident as a way to put pressure on the Syrian opposition.
General Abu Nuwara, it wasn't until the Russians got involved in this conflict in a significant way, supporting the regime in the latter half of 2015, as we said at the top there, that things really turned around for Bashar al-Assad. Do you think it's going to take something like that for the tide to turn for the rebels, that it's going to take a big foreign power to get more involved in a significant way?
I think they gave the Syrian conflict, war was a big chance for them to finish the whole thing, but and they gave it a chance, and I think the only thing left is the political solution. But the way I see it, there is no strategy either from the American or the Russian concerning that matter. They contain their differences, even with Turkey also and the other regional players. Things is going to worse. I think they ridiculize the whole world. So we will see continuous fighting for a couple of years, the way I see it. The solution, political solution, is I can't see it in the future coming up very quickly or in short term. It's going to take a long term to achieve this peace thing between, and Assad must leave to make Syria peaceful. They're talking about no-fly zone and the buffer zone and etc. I see the whole Syria is a good peaceful geography if Assad leave. If Assad stay, war will carry on after what he did with his people, chemicals and killing around 500,000 people and 8 displaced, etc. So there is no point to for this negotiation, I think, to reach somewhere with Assad in power still.
Dr. Khatib, is that how you see it? That's ultimately not going to, at this point anyway, it's not going to end anytime soon?
No, what we're seeing is a transformation of the conflict. It's changing shape. As we've just heard, and I agree, we are going to see more and more insurgency actions. We have to remember that even if the Free Syrian Army is weakened as a result of the funding cuts, and we shouldn't forget that the Russian campaign in Syria is primarily targeting the Free Syrian Army. And the Free Syrian Army in recent weeks has also come under attack by Jabal Fath but even then, this doesn't mean that the regime is going to win and retake the whole country, because the grievances that have driven people to fight against the regime are very much still there. And therefore, what we're seeing now is whenever the Free Syrian Army is weakened, other groups like Jabhat Fath al-Sham are taking advantage of this to present themselves as the most credible rebel group on the ground that is able to have results against the Assad regime, such as what we've just seen in Damascus, and trying to use this to rally fighters to their side, so that the fight becomes won by insurgents of that kind of leaning against the Syrian regime. As long as there is no political solution to the conflict, this is the new trend that is going to just grow in Syria.
General Abu Nawara, what form do you think a political solution is going to take? I mean, you said nothing's going to change as long as Assad remains in power. But just putting that aside for the moment, could you see a scenario where each group maintains kind of spheres of control within Syria, and that there is some sort of a settlement with that in mind?
Yes, if you mean that Assad will go through partition of Syria, yes, that's a possible scenario. The sphere of influence between regional player and the big player, in actual fact, like we see it in east of Euphrates River, it's the American, and west of it is the Russian, and we'll see the Turkish on Idlib side, and the southern part is Jordan and the FSA, and the center also east of Syria will be the FSA people or the Sunni people. But there is a feeling in our part of the world that the West is really ignoring the Sunni people in favor of the Shia. And people, they feel it on the ground. And that's what radicalized the whole thing in our part of the world. Yes, Assad maybe goes on useful Syria through this partition in the future, but remain to be seen. Things still going on. The Geneva 5 is coming up now, which I see nothing will happen on it. As I said, the differences is quite, there is a big gap between the two things, and things will remain like this.
Dr. Khatib, do you see a solution where there could be some sort of partition of the country?
There cannot be a solution if Syria is partitioned. I mean, partition to what is one question. Syria is not formed of areas distinctly populated by, sectarian groups that only exist in those areas. It's a very mixed landscape. The other issue is if the regime contains its control or continues its control over, let's say, Damascus and the Sahel area on the Mediterranean, that means that the east of Syria will be under the control of Daesh. And how can there be any form of solution under a dynamic of that sort? I think partition is not on the table. Perhaps for the regime it is a way to stay in power regardless. Perhaps for Russia it is a way to have a foothold in the Middle East regardless. But this is not something that would be at all sustainable or acceptable to the Syrians primarily, but also to the regional backers of the Syrian opposition.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you to both of you, Mamoun Abu Nawara and Lina Khatib. Thanks very much for being on Inside Stories. And thank you for watching. As always, you can see this program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, you can go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle there is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Hazem, Sika, and the whole team here, bye for now.